Good evening, everyone. Hope you're well. Welcome to the last of the series of showcase and case studies of how I acquired properties with no or very little money. First of all, just want to say thank you for being online with me this evening. I appreciate it's bank holiday weekend. I appreciate that you've probably been out with your family, or a lot of you just coming back in and you've enjoyed the weekend. There's lots of things that you could have been doing, but you're here with me. Now, where do I start? I want to just give you a bit of an intro. First of all, if you can, just in the Q&A or in the chat feature, just let me know that you can hear me nice and loud and clearly in the Q&A session. Just say, hi, Arsh, and that'll give me a good indication as to where we are with this. Is that okay? So if you can do that, that'd be much appreciated. I'll keep the Q&A session open for throughout the session. If you've got any questions, feel free to reach out. Let's have a chat and then let's go from there. So, bold claim, how I acquired property with no or very little money. Now, if you've been on these sessions for the last couple of weekends, you'll notice that I've actually gave you case studies as properties that I've done all over the UK. So not just based in this little city called Wolverhampton, which is where I'm based. I've told you pretty much everything about every deal that I've done. Well, when I say every deal, a handful of deals that I've done in different parts of the country. So you can see that this works pretty much anywhere and everywhere. So let's get moving on. So hi Mark, thanks for logging in. So let's get moving on. So who is Arsh Ellahi? Before we do that, I'm just going to shut my window because I know that that's going to probably distract a few of you. So apologies about that. So first and foremost, who am I? I'm a property investor. I've been investing in property full time for 25 years. I built up a significant portfolio, best part of 1,100 tenants. So I've got a fair few tenants. So you could say that I've got a few scars in the property industry. I've seen it, I've done it, I've walked it, and I'm still continuing to walking it. I'm still acquiring properties as of today. People ask me why. The honest answer is I don't know. The honest answer is I probably still enjoy the chase. I still probably enjoy the acquisition. I probably still enjoy doing the deal. Acquiring and owning the property is probably the boring part. Once I've actually acquired it, I'm kind of not really interested in the property any longer. So for me, it's about the chase. So one of the proudest things that I've done in property is create the Property Investor app. Now, with the Property Investor app, it's the UK's first property investment platform, which showcases all kinds of deals all over the UK, whether it's a below market value deal, a rent to rent deal, a lease option deal. Now we've got them all there. Now there are two ways to get involved. You can either go to the website, which is propertyinvestorapp.co.uk, or if you've got a smartphone, you can go to the App Store, type in Property Investor and download it from there. Now, for those that are in the property industry and they understand that they want to further their education, you may come across a magazine called YPN, which is Your Property Network, or the HMO magazine. I've been a feature columnist in each of these for the last 9 years. For the last 9 years, I've consistently wrote in these magazines. And when we first went into lockdown, I think in 2020, I released a podcast called The Property Rebel, which again, I release a new episode every Tuesday at 6 a.m. And you can find it on all podcast store, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and these are just some of the platforms that you can find us on. So I'm going to tell you some stories throughout this session, and we're going to be online for approximately 60 minutes, and I'm going to tell you some stories. I'm going to tell you stories about success stories. I'm going to tell you failure stories, and I really want you to hopefully resonate with some of the stories that I'm going to be sharing with you. More importantly, where it all began. So my father was a property, well, when I say he was an entrepreneur, he had an engineering company, and from the profits from the engineering company, he actually bought some properties. Now, the properties was a bit of a sideline, and he owned a handful of properties. They weren't run very well, and he was very risk averse. So he was very aware that he had mortgages on some of these properties, and he wanted to make sure that every property had a form of income stream. And so growing up, we were a family of 8, and I only lived on the ground floor of a property. Even though we lived in a 4-stroke 5-bedroom house, we only lived on the ground floor, and the 4-stroke 5 bedrooms above us on the first floor were all rented out to individual people. Now we now know that as a HMO, but for us, it was just a way of life. So growing up, we had four strangers live above us. And think about that. That's a little bit strange, but that's how life was. Now, when I left university, I decided to get involved in the property industry. I started to get involved in my father's property business. And this is where it all began. I started to restructure his business. And when I did that, I realized that I was actually quite good at this property, at this, let's call it this property gig. And I then start off and went on to create a property portfolio. Now, before we did that though, I've got to put this out there because I'll put this on my social media this weekend. I was clearing out the attic as we do on bank holiday weekends, and I come across my GCSE results from back in 1997. And I hate saying this, but I'm not an academic person. So the reason why I've put this up there is to show a bit of vulnerability, but more importantly, show you that anyone can do what I've done because I'm not an academic. I see myself as being a streetwise and a street smart person, as opposed to an academically smart person. I failed every single one of my GCSEs. So you can see from my results, I've got E's, I've got F's. My highest result was a D, which was in German. I did a retake on my maths and I failed that again. But here I am, 20, 25 years later, as a property millionaire. So it just goes to show that anyone can get involved in property, anyone can succeed in property, and it's not these little letters after your name, like a BA honours, that is going to define who you are and what you become. Now we're going to be talking about, and for those that have watched this series of 3 webinars that I've done over the last 3 weekends, we're going to be going through what I consider the property investor roadmap, because ultimately everywhere, regardless where you are as a property investor, you're somewhere along this roadmap, whether you're starting out and you're going to start from step 1, whether you're actually scaling up right now and you're at step 5, somewhere along the line, you're on this journey. And I want to talk you through every step, and I'm going to show you about some of the deals that we've done every step of the way, and I'm going to show you how you can actually monetize every deal. So, taking me back to 16 years old, my first business, you can see there I was showcasing a watch on my wrist. That was my first business. So when I was in sixth form, a friend of mine, whose brother was importing watches from China. And I said to him, well, I'll tell you what, in the summer holidays, why don't we take some of your uncle's watches? And why don't we go sell them on markets? Now, I'm not saying that everyone should do this, but as a young entrepreneur, it's a fantastic way to learn about business. Now, what we did is that we negotiated a deal with my friend's uncle where we would take a load of watches off him and we would go and sell them that day, and anything that we didn't sell, we would then hand back to him. So it's a sale or return. We now know it as a sale or return. Back then it was, give us some watches, we'll sell them, we'll give them back to you. And that worked really well for us. So, on the weekend, we were selling anywhere between 500 to 1,500 watches. And it was phenomenal. It was a young 16-year-old to be making circa £1,000 a day. And they were splitting it with my business partner. It was phenomenal time. At 16-year-old, what were you going to do with that kind of money? So the reason why I say that is because every expert was once a beginner. So regardless where you are, if you can, in the Q&A session, just tell me where you think are in your journey. As part of this 5-step roadmap, are you at step 1 or where you're a complete beginner? Are you in the middle where you've actually acquired some properties and you're utilizing those? Or are you actually at step 5 where you're scaling up your business, you're doing developments? Stick it in the Q&A. Stick it in the Q&A. Let's have a look at who we got online today, and I can try and tailor this according to who we got on the session. So let's start with step 1. So for those that just get involved in property, one of the questions that I get asked quite frequently is, Arsh, I want to get involved in property. Where do I start? Now, it all depends down to one main factor. Do you actually have funds to buy a property? Because if you don't, it doesn't mean that you can't get involved. It just means that we've got to be a little bit more creative with how you get involved. So Graham says, I've got one property and I want to buy more. Believe it or not, Graham, the way that I see it, you're probably at step 1 or 2, maybe at a push 3. And the reason why I say that is because You've got one property, you want to buy more, but more importantly, you've got to do this and you've got to generate further funds. So everyone needs in some form a pot of cash, some form of pot of cash, and how we build that pot of cash will determine what we do with our next step. So when everyone asks me about deal sourcing and why I still deal source 25 years on. Now, for me, I always say the fundamental thing about property is how you find the deal, how you acquire the deal, how you negotiate the deal. And that all comes down to deal sourcing. Because regardless of where the properties are coming in from, you still need to have the ability and the skill to acquire the property. So what is deal sourcing? So people may come to you with a couple of form of terms. So it may be deal sourcing, it may be deal trading, it may be deal packaging. Believe it or not, they actually want to go, they all say the same thing. And if you think about it, I'm going to keep this very simple for everyone to understand. With deal sourcing, there's three people involved in the transaction. You've got the buyer, you've got the seller, and you've actually got a purchaser. So you've got buyer, seller, and purchaser sits in the middle. Now, the reason why I say that is because what you need to do is you need to be able to put the buyer and the seller together. And then you've got the sourcer who sits in the middle who facilitates the sale. Now, if you think about this as a business model, all we've done is we've replicated what estate agents have been doing for hundreds of years. They've got the buyer, they've done the hard part, they've gone off and done the marketing to find the seller. On the other side, there's a buyer who's willing to purchase the property. Now, the estate agent has then found that property. They've listed it on somewhere like Rightmove, Zoopla, on the market. They've attracted a buyer. And ultimately, the estate agent has then facilitated putting the buyer and the seller together. Now, the difference between a deal sourcer and an estate agent is very simple. Generally speaking, the estate agent will charge the seller a fee for selling the property. A deal sourcer would generally charge the buyer a fee for finding them the property. Does that make sense? If you can, any questions during this session, feel free to stick them in the Q&A and I'll go through them as we go along. So if there's anything that you think that I've not covered, feel free to ask. So all we are as a deal sourcer is in actual fact a glorified estate agent. The only difference being is that we charge the buyer instead of charging the seller. Now, for those that are a little bit quick off the mark, you should have a light bulb moment. You think, well, in actual fact, I could actually work with estate agents too, because if they're charging the buyer, if they're charging the seller, and we're charging the buyer, there's no conflict of interest. And yet they're feeding us deals every week or every month. And yet I'm not having to spend any money on marketing because they're going to do that all for me. The likes of Connells, the likes of Reed Rains, they've got marketing budgets of hundreds of thousands of pounds every year. They do all the hard work by finding sellers. I just now need to put myself in the position where I'll put myself in front of hundreds of buyers and we put ourselves together. So we'll go through this. Does everyone understand that? Again, just give me a quick yes or no. Now, from an estate agent's point of view, do you think they really care where the buyer comes from? Whether they come from, whether they come from Rightmove, whether they come from Zoopla, whether they come from an estate agent, whether it comes from a newspaper advert, whether it comes from someone looking in their shop window, whether it comes from someone walking through the door, or whether it comes from Amit, who is a deal sourcer that introduces the buyer through to the estate agent. Do they care where that buyer has come from? The honest answer is no. Now, let's think about this in a more simplified manner. If you're a corner shop owner, do you care where the person that's just walked through and is about to buy that bottle of milk, do you care where they've come from? No, you don't. As long as they're buying, you'll take their money. And it's exactly the same with the estate agency world. It's exactly the same with the property world. Connells are not going to turn around and say, sorry, we can't accept we don't want to sell to you because we don't know, you've not come through our Rightmove leads or you've not come through our Zoopla leads. What they will say is, do you like the property? Yes or no. Do you have funds in place to buy the property? Yes or no. Can you provide us solicitor's details so that we can progress this matter? Yes or no. Have you got a decision in principle? Yes or no. If you go tick, 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 guess what Connells are going to say to you? Let's get it on. And I'm trying to keep it really as simple as I can this evening because, believe it or not, that is as simple as it gets. So let's think about it from a business point of view. If Connells have got a window of opportunity, windows of opportunities there. So they've got 3-bedroom terrace house, 4-bedroom terrace house, 2-bedroom flats. Everyone that has not sold, believe it or not, is costing them money. It's costing them money because they're not generating any sales. And if it's not generating any sales, it means that it's not generating any commission. Now, I was actually with one of the head valuers of Connells earlier this week, or so to say earlier this week, tail end of last week. And the reason why I say that is because he goes, we don't care where the buyer comes from. All we want is a sold board outside that house. He goes, because a sold board is the most powerful tool of marketing for us. Because if we don't sell it, the vendor will then go and start looking for another agent. And that if that agent now puts a new board up outside their house and they sell it, ultimately, everyone in the neighborhood is going to identify that Connells didn't sell it and the other agent did. So therefore, the other agent must be more active in this area. And ultimately, they're going to end up losing a lot more listings. Does that make sense? Again, just give me a quick yes or no in the Q&A. Now, off the back of that, that means that they've lost on commission. On the back of that, they've lost time invested in viewings and admin. And more importantly, they've lost the listing and they've lost some competition and they've lost to their competition. So what is a deal? So when we're looking for a property, what is a deal? Is it buying something below market value? Is it buying something in need of renovation? Is it something income producing, something producing good return on investment, something capital growth, something sustainable? So these are all opportunities that I've put on the screen. Which of these is an opportunity? Now, the reason why I say that is because we've got a few people on this session this evening. Now, let's just say we've got Amit, we've got Linda, we've got quite a few other people. And if I was to have a quick look who we've got on the attendee list. We've got Amit, Anita, we've got Anil, we've got Ankuri, we've got Anith, we've got Ashik, we've got Bon, we've got Edwin, we've got Graham, we've got Irfan, we've got Jane, we've got Gemma, we've got Jude, we've got Linda, we've got Marty, we've got Mark, we've got Martin, we've got Mariam, we've got Moss, we've got Paul. These are just some of the people that are on tonight's session. Now, the reason why I mention all these people is because each one of you are a property investor and you've all got in your own mind what is considered a deal. Now, let's say Martin's criteria will be different to Amit's. Amit's criteria will be different to Linda. Martin will be after a below market value deal, which is 30% below. He wants a 5-bed HMO that generates £800 a month. Amit was prepared to take something at a 15% below market value and will produce £500 a month. Linda says, does this only relate to rent to rent or just sales? We're going to cover rent to rent as well. So stay with us, Linda. So the reason why I say all this is because when you go to a estate agent, do they only have one style of property in the window? Do they only have 1-bedroom flats? Lots of 1-bedroom flats. No, they don't. They have 1-bedroom flats, 2-bedroom flats, 4-bedroom flats, 5-bedroom houses, 6-bedroom houses, 3-bedroom terrace houses. And all the properties vary in value. And they vary from the first-time buyers market right up to people that are upscaling up to the £1 million houses. The reason why I say that is because they identify that they have to have a variety of properties to meet the different pockets of budgets for different buyers. And as a deal sourcer, we have to have the same. So why I really like deal trading, and this is where Linda's going to really like, because the way that I see it, it's completely risk-free property investing. You don't own anything, so therefore nothing can go wrong. Now, I'm going to relate this back to an estate agent. Just imagine that now Connells came out to Amit's house. Can they guarantee that they're going to sell Amit's house? The honest answer is no, they can't. They can't guarantee it because if they guaranteed it, that means that they would have no properties for sale on their books because everything technically would have been sold. So we can't guarantee, but what we can do is we can give, our promise to give it a good push out to our database on the basis of the information that we've got right now. Now, how many times have you seen that when a property doesn't sell, Connells or other agents will go back to their owners and say, guys, can we reduce the price? Can we reduce it by 5,000? And therefore, you start to see the little banner saying reduced by this amount or reduced by this percentage. And this is what we do as deal sources. We utilize that as a way to negotiate a better deal. And the reason why I love deal trading is because I get to see the best deals first. Now, whenever I see an opportunity, I look at it from a point of view. Can I buy it myself? Can I take it on myself? Or do I sell it as a deal to a property investor? If it doesn't meet my criteria, will it meet Amit's criteria? Will it meet Linda's criteria? Will it meet Martin's criteria? And we push it out, and therefore the plan is to monetize every lead. And this is what I do with every opportunity that I see. Now, some of the opportunities that we're going to see are all properties that I've owned that have come through on my desk, and I've decided to either acquire myself or purchase myself. When I say acquire, it would be through the routes of rent to rent lease options, which answers your question, Linda. And I'm really hoping that you really enjoy this. So one of the guys that came to me was a guy called Jay Uday, who's on screen right now. Now, he came to me with no property experience, no money to invest, and he was a full-time teacher. And within one day of learning the skills of deal sourcing, he managed to negotiate 2 HMOs. Now, I'm going to put something completely bold out there. I'm going to say, in actual fact, you know what? If you follow my process, you don't actually have to physically view any of the properties. So you can do everything from the comfort of your own home by utilizing a laptop and a mobile phone. So he negotiated 2 deals, HMOs, sourced and packaged the deals, literally offered out to investors, and made the best part of £10,000 in sourcing fees, which was 5,000 per property. Now you can see all the other deals that I've done through the Property Investor app, which gives you a very good idea as to the kind of deals that we've done. So we've done 14-bed properties in West Bromwich, 2-bedroom, two one-bedroom flats in Birmingham. We've done rent-to-rent deals. We've done a mini commercial deal in Masteg. We've done a 2-bedroom bathroom apartment, which is a rent-to-rent deal in Birmingham. We've done an 8-bedroom terraced house in Warsaw, but we've done deals all over the country. Now, let's get you on to step 2. So once you've started deal sourcing and once you start selling deals, you can have little pockets of cash of anywhere between £3,000 and £5,000 a deal. And then you may think, well, in actual fact, yes, it's great making these small pockets of cash. And yes, I don't own any property, but perhaps I want to actually bring yourself onto the next step, which is how about if I acquire property by controlling it, and it's going to give me a monthly residual income. So this could be in the form of rent to rent or a lease option. Now, some of these examples, I don't mind saying I've used over the last couple of sessions, but they are fantastic deals. And again, I've done it so we've got the full spectrum of the country. So here's a block of apartments that I took on in Nottingham. And it's a block of 7 apartments right in the city centre next to the castle, Nottingham Castle, Sherwood Castle, I think it is. And I now run these as service accommodation. So I took these on a 3-year lease where I paid no deposit. I got 3 months rent free because he was still developing the properties, but he then developed the properties for my purpose, for my need. He told me what we needed, what colour schemes we need. I told him what colour schemes we needed, what kind of finish we needed. Off the back of that, we took them on. We've already had them for 3 years. We've now negotiated another 5-year term on the same terms. And they continue to ensure and maintain the structure. Now, I give the owner approximately, off memory, I think we pay him £6,600 a month for all 7 apartments. Now, we work on the basis of £130 per night, which is lower than the competitors. And my break even is around 50%, considering taking into consideration management costs, high fees and contingency fees. And we still make in excess of £6,000 per month just off this one block of apartments. Now, and that will be equivalent to £72,000 a year. Now, if we increase the nightly rate, we could bring our break even less, and the cash flow increases significantly. We've decided to keep it where we are because we're consistently full. And as a result, it works. You know, have you ever heard the saying, if it's not broken, don't fix it? We're not breaking it. It's not broken, so we're not going to need to fix it. Now, Linda, you like that one. Now let me take you a little bit further north, up into Manchester. Here's a lady that approached me. or should I say, I approached her. She came to me and says, Arsh, we've got this property. It was let out to a housing association or a social housing provider. Social housing is a big thing right now. And she goes, they've trashed the house. They've gave me the property back and it's in a real bad state. She goes, I don't want to sell it, but I want someone like you to come and bring it up to standard and hopefully give us a guaranteed rent. When I went to view the property needed the best part of £100,000 worth of spending on it. And I said, for a 5-year deal, it's not worth doing. She goes, well, how about if I put the money in? How about if she put the money in herself and we project managed it on the basis that we then had a 5-year rent to rent on this property? So she actually paid for all the conversion costs. We got 3 months rent free whilst we were doing the conversion, and we converted it into 10-bed HMO/studio model, which we now utilize as service accommodation. We've got these on Airbnb, booking.com. Go and check it out. You can have a look at the company. It's 1508 stays. You can see these properties on there, and they rent out on average around £100 per night. So we make on average around £6,000 per month just off this block of 10. So they are slightly lower. Well, we've got more units. It produces £6,000 a month. And I've not used any of my money to do this deal. But if I wasn't a deal sourcer, I would not have got this opportunity. If I wasn't a deal sourcer and I didn't know how to negotiate, I would not have found this opportunity. Now, let's go a little bit further north. So we started in Nottingham, we went to Manchester, now we're in Liverpool. Here's a 3-bedroom penthouse, which sleeps 6. We found a tired landlord off a website called Open Rent. We approached him where we said we'd bring the property up to standard because it was tired. And we negotiated a 7-year rent to rent with the option to purchase, where he gave us 1 month to come in and do the work to the property. And within 12 hours of going live on Airbnb, it had 15 bookings at £250 a night. Now, let's go south. Let's go right down to Cornwall. And if I'm honest, this one was a bit of a curveball for me because I never envisaged going into holiday cottages in Cornwall. But I found this property, believe it or not, on eBay. And here was a guy trying to sell his property. And when I approached him, we managed to negotiate a 10-year lease option with a 6-month rent-free period so that we could get our head around the new location and get everything set up. And this produces on average a cash flow of around £2,000 a month. It's right. Feel free to go to the website. It's tincroftcottage.co.uk. If you don't believe me, go and check out the website, tincroftcottage.co.uk. Now, we're at the start, believe it or not, right at the summer season. So you've got to bear in mind that Cornwall is very seasonal. So you're going to get 6 very good months and 6, let's say, quieter months. So the good months have got to outweigh the quieter months. And as long as it's paying itself, plus making some cash flow, we're happy with that. And we understand that model. And so, again, these are opportunities that I've put myself in front of where we're direct to the owner. And we structured some as rent to rents where they've got no option to buy in there. So Nottingham, no option to buy. Manchester, no option to buy. Liverpool has the option to buy. Cornwall has the option to buy. I've tried to put the option to buy in Nottingham. They don't want to sell. I've tried to put the option to buy in Manchester. They don't want to sell. Now, here's 2 properties that I took on last week. So these are very fresh. So we've got Dudley, which is a 7-bed HMO. Now, this landlord, believe it or not, lives on the other side of the world in China. We agreed to deal with them, and I actually found this guy on Facebook, and he actually put a post out there saying, guys, I'm looking for a company that will take this property off me because my current agent is not paying me. I messaged him instantly and said, I'm interested. I can kind of work. I'm in that area anyway. Let's see what we can do. Now, I took this property on a 5-year option, no deposit payable, 1 month rent free. They continue to insure, and this generates around £1,000 a month. So slightly less cash flow, but another deal in. The reason why I took it on is fully occupied. It's actually a no-brainer. We literally had to go in and just introduce ourselves to the new tenants. And the second property that they had was a 5-bedroom HMO in Birmingham, which a same owner, so his name was Keith. We agreed the deal with him where I took it on, 5-year lease, no deposit, 1 month rent free. They continue to insure and maintain the structure, and it produces around £1,000 a month. We've got to go in. A lot of the rents that they're charging is actually below market rent. So we're going to go in and increase the market rent, increase the rents to market values, and we'll increase that to circa about £1,400 a month. So can you see the power of actually acquiring properties that you don't own? You don't need to physically own them. As long as they're generating cash flow, you can actually build a very, very good cash flowing business. And so if you were to do strategy one, which is deal sourcing, that gives you pockets of cash every month. If you then start to build in rent-to-rent portfolios, which gives you recurring income, you've actually got two businesses which are paying you monthly. And believe it or not, these two businesses, actually, you don't own anything. They're just a service. This is a service to landlords where you're giving them a guaranteed rent. This is a service to owners where you're selling their property. Let's go on to step number 3. So once steps one and two working really well for you, then going to go to step 3, because you might actually have a pot of cash, which you think, well, this is great. Number 2 is great because it's generating cash, but on the long term, it's not going to allow me to generate any generational wealth. When I say generational wealth, you may want to buy a property where you're going to hold on to long term for your kids, your family. So you're going to go on to step 3, where you may start to take yourself into the realm of HMOs. So with a HMO, let me take you through. So HMOs can vary massively. So it can be from 4, 5, 6, 7, 20, 30, 40 beds, depending on how big you want them. The reason why I say that is because when I started out small, and I bought this 4-bedroom house in Wolverhampton at £80,000, and I converted it into a 4-bed HMO. Back then, it cost me around £20,000 to convert. It's not a picture painting, to be fair. It's in a rough end of town, but believe it or not, it works extremely well. Each room is rented out at £550 a month. Now, based on the fact that Wolverhampton is an Article 4 location, and we could talk about all the different sections, Article 4, we can talk about license, non-licensing, we can talk about commercial valuations. Based on the fact that being an Article 4 city, we had this property valued at £200,000. Bear in mind that I only purchased it for 80 and I spent £20,000 on it. It's now valued at double of what we paid for it. So off the back of that, it generates cash flow of around £1,600 a month. Plus, I managed to refinance and get all my money out of this deal. Let's now take you to another part of Wolverhampton. These are all properties that I own. So this is 24 and 26 Merridale Lane, Wolverhampton. Now, these were offered to me through an estate agent. And believe it or not, there are two properties right next door to each other that had interconnecting doors, and it was being used as a nunnery. So they had nuns running around causing chaos all over the place. So they were offered to me at £400,000. I rejected the properties and I said, you know what, guys, not for me. I'm not interested in these. And believe it or not, they came back to me 12 months later and said, Arsh, we had someone interested. They've not delivered. Are you still interested? And I said, I would, but I don't want to really kind of disappoint you with my offer, because this agent I do a lot with. He goes, Arsh, just make me an offer. And I said to him, 200,000. They go, no chance. And they go, if you can do somewhere between 300 and 400, we can probably negotiate. And I said, they're not for me. I said, I don't want to insult you any further. Just leave it with, if you find another buyer, great. If not, come back to me and I'll see what I can do. But really, I want to be around £200,000. Anyway, they came back to me and we eventually, after back and forth, we negotiated and we agreed £235,000 for both properties. So they each owe me around just over £115,000 each. Now, I converted the two properties into a 16-bed HMO, which is a 9-bed and a 7-bed. Again, don't believe me, check the planning register. They're both on there. They now generate combined £77,000 per annum, which is equivalent to, is it just over 6,200 or something per month? And they generate a cash flow of approximately £4,000 a month. Plus, I managed to refinance, get all my money back out, because again, I want to be able to be in a position where I can keep going and going and going and going. If you buy well, there's no reason why you can't utilize those funds that you put in from the outset again, again, and again, and you keep recycling your cash. And these are the things that I teach property investors how to do. Now, if you've got an appetite for a slightly bigger property, let's take you down to West Bromwich. Now, West Bromwich, it's literally about 30 seconds away from the West Bromwich Albion football ground. This is one of my, should I say, my trophy properties. When I say trophy, in terms of what it generated and the story that goes behind it. I bought this property when it was rented out as a care home back in 2006, and it was let out on a 10-year lease to a care home facility. Years 1 and 2 ran really well, and the property was actually producing a really good income. I think back then it was producing 60,000 a year. I thought, yeah, 60,000 a year, £5,000 a month. Yeah, it covers itself and it's making a bit of cash flow. Year 3, the company went bust, and I was left with a 17-bed care home, which was now costing me money because I had to pay £3,000 a month to the mortgage company, which at the time was Lloyd's. I then had to think quickly on my feet because I was losing £3,000 a month. Now, off the back of that, I then converted that property into a 17-bed HMO because let's face it, what's the difference between a care home and a HMO? Very little. So I spoke to all the relevant parties and we converted it into a 17-bed HMO and we got it income generating once again. I then went off and got planning permission for further additional 6 rooms because the difference between a care home and a HMO is managers' offices, medical offices, communal spaces. That's not required in a HMO. And we converted it into a 23-bed HMO. This now generates £140,000 a year, and the cash flow is around £10,000 a month. So I could probably say that that care home going bust is probably one of the best things that could have happened for this building. Because yes, I had a year of pain where it was costing me money because I then had to go and convert it, had to go through planning permission, etc. But ultimately, it allowed me to turn this property into a cash flowing machine. It's now valued at around £1.5 million, but originally I bought it for the best part of £450,000. So, anyone got any questions on where we are right now? So from deal sourcing and rent to rent, from deal sourcing, I was generating pockets of cash. Rent to rent, I was generating monthly income. Combined, it's allowed me to buy HMOs, which is then allowed me to build a property portfolio, which is not only going to generate cash as well. So step 1 is generating cash. Step 2 is generating cash. Step 3 is generating cash, plus capital appreciation, plus assets. And then ultimately, what will happen, and you will find that as you go through this step and this roadmap, that slowly but surely, tenants will start to grind you. Dealing, like I said from the outset, I love the chase, I love the acquisition. Dealing with tenants is not really my forte. And that's where I decided to then go on to step 4, which is refurbishments, where I buy properties, I literally refurb them, and then I either keep them for my portfolio or I then sell on for a capital gain. Another property in Wolverhampton, I bought off an estate agent for £180,000. Believe it or not, this was full market value. We didn't negotiate on the purchase price. They had it on the market for 180. I offered 180 straight away. And sometimes this is one of my traits. This is why agents call me, because they know that if I can see value in it, I will offer them full value. Sounds a bit strange. Why would you not negotiate, Arsh? Because if I know that I can see that we can uplift the value, I would rather remove all the competition and go in at full value. So when they put this on the open market, they said, Arsh, we need to let it run on for 2 weeks to see what offers we get in. They did an open house. They had so many people come. We had Mr. Singh, Mr. Malik, Mr. Ali, Mr. Smith. We had all kinds of people there. I was there on the viewing. And I saw them saying, Mr. Singh said, oh, we'll offer 130, we'll offer 140, Mr. Malik 140, 150, we had Mr. Smith 160. I just said to him, guys, I said, okay, I just went to the estate agent, pulled him to one side, I said, full market value, 180,000, that's my offer. There's my proof of funds, there's my solicitor's details. Let's get this wrapped up. And people thought I was absolutely crazy. Why was I offering £180,000 for a property that was, in essence, a brick shell? It had no toilets, no kitchens, pretty much no roof. What could I see that they couldn't see? When I looked at it, originally it was just a house which had been converted into 3 flats. But it had been stripped back to bare brick. It was absolutely destroyed. I actually went to them and said, guys, okay, I'll offer the full £180,000, but on the basis that I can get planning permission for apartments. It may take me 12 weeks, but let's face it, it's going to take 12 weeks for the transaction to go through anyway, because this was part of a probate. They agreed that on the basis that I offer 180, that they would allow me time to go off and get planning permission. We got planning permission to convert it into 6 one-bedroom flats. I instantly, the moment I walked in, I knew what I could do with that property. I looked at the floor plan. I looked at what we were looking at. I just wanted to make sure that everything, we didn't have to put extensions or anything like that. We worked within the existing floor plan. Off the back of that, I spent approximately 120 to 150,000 pounds on converting the property. So I bought it for 180. I spent 150 on it, so it owes me 330. I had it valued after works at 600,000 pounds, and it now generates 40,000 pounds a year. I kept it for my own portfolio. Originally, I thought I would sell it for the 600,000, but I then decided to keep it for my portfolio because of the location and where it sits and how it sits within my portfolio. Generates around £1,900 a month cash flow, but we managed to get all of our money back out to go again, again, and again. Are you guys finding it interesting? Or am I just banging on, boring you for the last 40 minutes? Feel free to comment in that Q&A session. Let me know what your thoughts are if you've got any questions. Now, the next property I didn't actually ever own. I literally put the deal together, but this was a refurbishment opportunity. So I agreed on a deal with the owner where they get £300,000. So this was a 4-bedroom detached property in a nice part of Wolverhampton. And I would say £300,000 was literally close to market value. And I said to them, guys, give me 12 weeks. Let me go off and get planning to extend it. And I thought we could get planning for a circa 7-bed on that plot of land. It cost me around £500 with my architect to jot up some plans. Planning permission was granted and was now valued at 435. I put it in the next auction, and we took within a day of listing it on the auction, we took an offer of £415,000 from the outset. And so I made 103,000. So the way that I agreed this deal with this owner is, tell you what, you want 300, I will give you the 300, but I need 12 weeks. And in that 12 weeks, I'm going to increase the value of your property, and anything in excess of the 300 that I achieve is my commission. So she wanted 300. She got 300. I managed to get planning permission and increase the value, but that was my risk. That was my time. That was my effort. We then put it on. We then sold it at 415. Take out all my costs. I walked away with £103,000. Now, the reason why I say that, these are needle and haystack. So when they come along, you've got to make sure that you got to take them and you've got to work with them straight away. So these only come along once every 5 years. But if you walk away with a deal which generates over £100,000, you've got to take it. Otherwise, you'll be working with deals that circa do 5, 10 grand, 15, 20 grand. Here's another deal. Again, a smaller profit deal, but again, nevertheless. So believe it or not, Martin, I know that you're based in Dudley. So Irfan said, did you actually do the extension or not? I didn't do a single thing. I didn't put a spade in the ground. I just created the idea. I floated the idea. I got the drawings and I sold it with the drawings. We didn't actually even go through the whole process. Someone wanted it. They bought into our vision, and they, believe it or not, they actually executed on our vision as well. So here's a property, Martin. I know that you're in Dudley. Here's a property on Churchfield Road. You probably drove past this a million times. It was sat vacant for 20 odd years. 20 odd years, nothing has happened to this property. I managed to find the owner by utilising land registry and said, guys, what's going on? They said, simply, we haven't got the funds to do it. Really, we haven't got the funds to do it. I said, I'll tell you what, do you want to sell it? They go, yes, we would, at the right price. She goes, we want it 80 grand. I said, all right, fine. I said, I can do something slightly better than that. How about if you allow me to go off and get planning, or actually get some drawings done for the building, and anything in excess of 80 grand, I will give you 50% of the uplift. And the reason why I did that is to incentivize them to give me the time. because they said they wanted 80 grand, but they wanted the 80 grand today. I said, I'm not giving you 80 grand today. I will give you the 80 grand, but it'll be within 3 months. It's a very similar scenario. We put it, we got the drawings together. We put it into the next auction, and we sold it for 120,000. Now, remember what my deal was with the owner? The first 80,000 was hers. The uplift of 40,000 was then split 50-50 between us. So in actual fact, the deal that she wanted 80,000 for, believe it or not, she actually got 100,000 for. And off the back of that, she then offered me deal number 2, deal number 3, and deal number 4, other properties that she had rented out. And we've done very similar deals with her on those. So I made, believe it or not, £20,000 from this property for the space of 4 weeks' work. And I'm working on one right now. So again, if you're local to Wolverhampton, you'll see property on Wellington Road, which is quite well known, opposite Bilston, Wolverhampton College, which is the Bilston campus. We only started this one this week, just gone. I met the architect there, I think on Thursday last week. You can actually see the address on there. I can talk about the address because I'm legally secure on all these sites. So direct to vendor opportunity, again, he owns a whole site that we've got in yellow there. We've agreed £300,000 with the owner. No purchase is required, and anything over £300,000 we will share a percentage with. Now, the plan would be to get planning permission on the site and then to sell it. Because believe it or not, next to the site, they've got planning permission for 8 apartments. So we think we can get 8 apartments, maybe even 10 apartments on ours because it's slightly bigger. And off the back of that, we will then do a very similar scenario where we then sell it. And then he gets his 300. Anything over that, we'll then do 50-50. And again, the reason why I like these deals or these style of deals is because I don't own the site. I don't get charged capital gains tax. I actually have to only just pay, I don't have to pay stamp duty. I don't have to pay legal fees or anything like, well, sorry, tell I have to pay legal fees because I'll have a solicitor that facilitates it my side, but there's no stamp duty. There's no capital gains tax. I don't physically own it on any of the land registry documents, and it works extremely, extremely well. Now let's go. Step 5. Hopefully you're enjoying this session and really enjoying some of the, let's say, some of the properties that I'm showcasing. If you've got any questions, stick them in the Q&A. Everything that I've said here today, you can factually back up by checking on, let's say, on the websites. You can have a look on the planning registers, whatever it may be. You can find them all there. So let's take you back to my hometown of Wolverhampton. Believe it or not, this property is now my office block. So I acquired originally, I was looking for an office to lease. I found this office block where it had an office where I wanted to rent just an office space in. When I met the owner, he confirmed to me that he was looking to sell the property. And I don't know why, but when someone tells me they want to sell the property, I instantly start thinking, well, what is it that I can do with this deal? But I put myself in front of this opportunity. Let's see what I can do with it. So anyway, I structured a 3-year lease option with this property. And the reason why I structured it is because I wanted to increase the value of the property. I wanted to increase the income of the property. And I did so because when I took it on, we agreed a option price of £520,000. But at the time, the property was only producing, I think, between £40,000 and £45,000 per annum. Within that 3-year term, I got that property to generate circa £124,000 in rental income by putting up the rent, by increasing the standard of the property. And as a result, we had this valued back in December 2023 at £1.2 million. So I can now pay off the owner the 525. It's not cost me any additional money to do that. And the reason why it's not cost me any additional money, because I've got the right finance people involved. I've got the right legal team involved. I've got the right tax advisors involved who structured this where I don't need to put in any further funds because I've increased the value. I've increased the income, and everyone is included in the loop as to what we've done with this deal. Now, here's another deal. So that deal, I had to put some money in. Now, this deal, I haven't put a single penny in. So here's another property. Where I met the agent, I met the owner. I saw that it went up for sale, I think back in March 2023. In July, I approached them and said, guys, it's not sold. Can we do a deal? And we negotiated a deal where the owner lent me the whole money to purchase his property. So that's what is considered vendor finance. And the purchase price on this was £1.5 million. So he's lent me for £1.5 million. In the meanwhile, I've gone off and I've got planning permission granted to convert the property into 28 one and two bedroom apartments, a 20-bed hotel, and 6 commercial units. And it's going to generate in excess of £650,000. And I believe that the commercial valuation of this building, once it's built, will be around £6.5 to £7 million. But the build cost is going to be around £2 million. So 1.5 plus 2 is 3.5, but based on an end value of around 6.5 to 7, would you do that deal? Give me a quick yes or no in the comments box. That would be much appreciated. And finally, this is something that we're working on right now, a slightly bigger deal, a little bit more nervous about this deal. A piece of land, the owner's got planning permission for 95 apartments, doesn't know how to execute it, doesn't know what to do with it. I've come in on this deal. It's not cost me a penny to get involved in this deal. And I've put all the right people in place to make sure that this project gets built out and where we're doing a 50-50 profit split on this transaction. And we believe the end value is going to be within the region of £20 million. And off the back of that, I should net between £2.5 to £4 million. £4 million if we see an increase in value. 2.5 is where we sit right now. It's going to take around 2 years for that project to come to fruition, for it to be built outright. But again, very similar in terms of understanding what is the pain, what is the motivation, what can I bring to the table? But all these deals are all deals that have happened within the spec. This deal has happened and is currently going through. When I say currently going through, everything's all, we've got all the planners on board, we've got all the architects on board, we've now just got all the JCT contracts on board. So we are pretty much working full on. So, question, why am I telling you all this? Very simply because many years ago, I set up a training program called the Elite Property Tribe. And what the Elite Property Tribe is, it's not a mentorship program. I don't like calling it a mentorship program because it's a coaching program. It's very much one-on-one, like you've been with me this evening, pretty much like a very much hand-holding, showing you the best ways that you can do deals. Now, when I say the best way of doing deals, I don't really like talking about the theory because when you go and drive a car, you want to learn how to drive that car. I want to show you how to do these deals. I want you to find a property and I want to show you the best way to structure that deal so that you get the win-wins like you've seen on today's session. And this is something that I do on a day-to-day basis. With my current members in the Elite Property Tribe, they come to me, like, let's say, give you an example, last Thursday, one of my colleagues, Wayne, well, one of my, let's call him mentee. I hate the word mentee, but let's call him one of my colleagues, Wayne. He came to me, he goes, Arsh, he goes, I've got this owner that's got 34 properties just on the edge of Hampshire. And he goes, I don't know really how to structure it. So what I said is, let's jump on a call with this guy, Wayne. Let me understand what we can structure with this guy. Let me understand what is the pain, what is the motivation, and how we can structure this. And off the back of that call, we've structured, in principle, a 5-year lease option based on the value of around for 34 properties. We reckon the value is going to be around £6 million. Off the back of that, the rent to the owner is going to be within the region, I think, off memory, I don't want to guess, but it's going to be within the region of, hang on, I've got it wrote down on my book here. I can pull all the figures, but that Wayne was going to walk away with around £5,000 a month, which wasn't a great cash flow, but off the back that's not generating any income. We understood what the pain and the motivation with the owner was, and the owner has gone to talk to his wife this weekend, and we've got a call booked with him on Tuesday. Now, the reason why I'm telling you that story is because these are the things that no other property mentor would do. They wouldn't jump on a call and structure the deal with you. So I pride myself on being a very hands-on coach. So I've created a 52 property module training program called the Elite Property Tribe. It's been running 6 years, believe it or not. And what I do, I don't just teach you the theory. So yes, a lot of the modules talk about the theory, but then off the back of that, we apply the practical approach, showing you how to do it and how to structure these with real life examples. And what I've done is I've created a network of like-minded property professionals to support and encourage you along every step of the way. Now, with the lifestyle examples, what I like to do is every 2 weeks, so every fortnight on a Monday, we have a one-to-one phone or Zoom session where I kind of deep dive with you and your business, where we set up action plans and audits to make you accountable. So it's not very much of a cookie cutter, oh, everyone come here, let's have a quick chat, you go off and do your bits. I want to be in a position where I say to you, okay, Amit, what have we done this week? Where did we go? What did we do? Who did we speak to? What happened and how did we get on? And more importantly, what the action went from here on. And I want to make sure that you've got the correct advice. And one thing that I kind of pride myself on is the fact that you're going to be pretty much talking to me directly. When I say pretty much talking to me directly, you're not going to be talking to like my PA. You're not going to be talking to, other coaches that I've coached. I don't do any of that. I'd rather you be speaking with me. And off the back of that, I want to do it so that you're going to be moving forward and have real action points to go off and execute this. It's about you and your business. So it's not a training program. It's about coaching you through that whole process, working on exactly what you need to thrive. And in there, we're talking about accountability. We're talking about support and a personalized approach. We're talking about having an expert, me, in your corner who has had the experience and the correct contacts. So if you need the contact of a finance broker, I'll pass you my finance broker. If you need my property accountant and my tax advisor, you'll have those. If you need the solicitor, whoever it may be, someone that I've dealt with personally and has dealt with my cases, they're going to be working with you in your cases because they know what you're going to need. And the 5 kind of cash flow strategies are the same cash flow strategies that we've talked about on the actual roadmap. So whether you're starting out at deal sourcing, whether you're doing the rent to rent, whether you're doing the HMO, the mini refurbishment, or the larger developments, wherever you are in your property journey, I want to be able to execute and move you forward onto the next step. But remember, going back to the fundamentals, fundamentals is getting you generating cash flow into your business. Cash flow into your business, starting off from the basics of deal sourcing, going into acquiring properties on a rent-to-rent basis, moving on to actually acquiring assets, and then moving on to other larger projects along the way. And the plan is to get you through that process and keep you growing as a property professional. Got to remember, I've been doing this 25 years. I've made loads of mistakes along the way, but equally, you won't have to make any of those because I've already made them. So it's not a mentoring program. It's a business coaching program. And if you're interested, what I will need from you is, first of all, I'm going to need your commitment. I'm going to need some dedication so that if I give you things to do and go and research, you're going to have to make that time to go and do it. Otherwise, you're going to struggle to move on to the next step. I'm going to need you to have an open mindset because there are going to be certain things that I ask you to do that are probably going to scare you. Probably going to think, well, oh, that looks a bit risky, but I don't think it's risky because I've already done it and I won't put you in any harm's way, because if I thought it was risky, I'd be saying, Amit, don't do it. I don't like it. I think it's going to cost you money. I think it's going to hurt you. So that's what my approach and my advice is to you. And I want the ability to want you to grow and develop your business, because remember, this is business coaching. It's not the very much the cookie cutter. Everyone gets in a room, everyone high fives each other. Let's get rid of that kid mentality. Let's now separate, the boys to the men or the girls to the women. Let's get you moving forward, because again, you've seen, I'm not an academically educated guy. When I say that, you saw my GCSE results at the start of this session. What I have done is, believe it or not, actually been able to become streetwise and utilize that to the best of my ability. So just as a quick recap, I'm not selling, believe it or not, off this webinar. All I'm going to say is that if anyone's interested, you just book a call with me and let's see if this is right for you. So if you've got any questions, feel free to ask them in the Q&A. So what is the EPT? We've got 52 modules, which are online training, covers all the aspects of different types of property strategies. So whether it be a standard buy-to-let, whether it be a HMO, whether it be a rent-to-rent, whether it be a lease option, whether it be a development opportunity, whether it be a refurbishment opportunity. I'll be working alongside you in your business. So I'm going to be the expert in your field. So if you've got a vendor, if you've got an agent that you're not sure exactly how to close on, I'll be the person that'll be on that call with you, going through that with you. You'll have access to in excess of 400 hours worth of webinars and recordings and live meets. And if you decide not to buy the deal yourself, what we can do, we can actually sell it out back onto the investors on the Property Investor app. And we then will do a split fee between us. So we work on a 50-50 split fee basis. And again, everything is all fully transparent. You get access to my useful contacts. Again, going back to the points of solicitors, tax advisors, accountants, mortgage brokers, whoever you need, there'll be someone that I know that can help you with a contact. And finally, the private WhatsApp group. So the Elite Property Tribe has its own private WhatsApp group, and in there every day someone's asking a different question. Last week, someone was asking about building regs and asking about how do we make sure that it's got the correct building regs and the planning certifications. Again, certain questions that you could ask on a public open platform, but here, everyone learns along the way. So here's the training program. When I say the training program, when you go onto a platform where you can see all the videos and the recorded content, this is the kind of stuff that you're going to see on there. So it takes you through the 5 different sessions of the roadmap, and I've done it so that it's very, very detailed and to the point where you're going to understand. And then more importantly, the one thing that I kind of pride myself on is the personalized approach, so that if there's a question that you don't understand, instead of you waiting 2 weeks for you to have this, this session with me, I will give you a call booking link. And in that call booking link, I want you to be able to pick up the phone to me and say, Arsh, okay, here's what I don't understand, or here's where I am right now. What can we do? How can we move this forward? So lots of questions will come around. What does it cost? Now, I appreciate the cost of it is £5,000, which is absolutely nominal in compared to what you'd pay if you went to one of these training companies where they're going to be charging you for a more personalised approach, circa £20,000 to £30,000. So £5,000 for me is not really, for the amount of detail and the actual personalised approach that you're going to get, it's actually not a lot of money, considering that I actually charge circa £1,500 for a day of a one-on-one session. So if you were to call me and say, Arsh, I want to come and spend a day with you, I'm going to say it's going to be £1,500 plus VAT. Now, you're here, you're going to have a whole year with me for the cost of £5,000. So you can either pay it in one payment or you can spread it over 12 months. Now, my goal here is to get you to a point where you're actually going to be generating, your business is going to be generating a sufficient level of cash flow and getting you through the stages. So increasing your confidence, increasing your ability to do deals, increasing your ability to get in front of deals and negotiating and closing these deals. Whether you sell these deals on yourself, to your network on Facebook, whether you sell these deals to my database, whether you keep the deals, that's completely up to you. So what we do is that if you sell the deals via my network, we work on a 50-50 split fee basis. If you sell them to your network, you keep 100% of the fee. So I'm very clear, and I want to make sure that everyone understands that the Elite Property Tribe is very much about coaching you through that whole process. So if you like the thought of that, now the one thing I'm going to say is that I will put these links up here for anyone that is interested in the Elite Property Tribe, but only book the call. I'm going to say this in the nicest possible way. Only book the call. I'm going to put it in the chat section if you're interested in the Elite Property Tribe. Because I appreciate there'll be lots of people calling me saying, "Oh, okay, yeah, how can I do this? How can I do that?" But it is very much about the Elite Property Tribe. Now, off the back of that, I've just put the links in the chat session. If there's any questions that you've got to ask, feel free to ask either now in the Q&A session, in the Q&A box, and I'll go through those. Or alternatively, if you want to have a chat about the Elite Property Tribe, book by clicking on that link, which is tinyurl.com/call Arsh. And the reason why I'm doing that is because it's more of a personal approach. I want to understand who you are. I want to understand where you're based. I want to understand what your current struggles are. And I want to understand if I can make sure that I can take you through to that next stage. So taking you through the gears. Where are you right now? How will I get you to the next stage? What does that approach look like? The one thing I will say is that I'm very good at generating leads without actually paying any money for generating leads. So there'll be a lot of online work, there'll be a lot of online marketing that you've got to do, but it doesn't cost you anything, but you've got to make sure that you go through that process. And then here's a couple of guys. I don't really like doing this. Oh, look at all my previous success students, because hopefully you've probably seen the value that I kind of bring in today's session through the case studies that I've presented. These are all deals that have all been done. So Ashley Walker, believe it or not, actually has built a whole portfolio of properties with none of his own money. We've structured deals, so it's not actually had to put any money in, and he's refinanced and he's managed to move forward. Now, Bav has managed to build a rent-to-rent portfolio and actually sold rent-to-rent deals. Lenka has sold a number of property deals all over the country. Ellahi, actually, believe it or not, didn't actually sell a single deal himself. What he did, he built a property portfolio of rent-to-rent opportunities. And he said that he went from circa 7 properties, which was 17 rooms, 7 properties, which is 37 rooms, to 17 properties, which is 94 rooms with 100% occupancy. So he utilized the EPT to increase his knowledge, to go off and build that portfolio. And off the back of that, those properties are each generating circa £1,000 to £1,500 a month, which has given him the best part, a very, very healthy lifestyle. Not only did I learn the strategies and techniques, but also learned to strengthen my confidence and belief. Now, confidence and belief is a big thing, because the more confident you become, the better you become. The better you become, the better you become at closing and doing those deals. We've got Amanda, who's done multiple deals. We've got Adam, who's done in excess of 50 deals. I tried to get Adam on one of these sessions, and he's just a little bit shy when it comes to talking to the public. But if I talk to you about some of the deals that Adam has done, it's phenomenal. You know, he's took on a block of 36 apartments without putting in a single penny. And he's managed to get those leased out to a social housing provider. It's generating, you know, circa the best part, £20,000 a month. And it's phenomenal what he's done, but he just wouldn't come on. Now, off the back of being part of the Elite Property Tribe, you can also use the leverage of the Property Investor app to negotiate deals with vendors and agents, and you can become that go-to person. More importantly, you can actually boast the fact that you're working with, you know, a person like myself. So you can say, I'm working with Arsh Ellahi, and if they've got any questions, they'll feel free to come back to me. So a quick recap before we go through the Q&A. So the Elite Property Tribe, it's a coaching program. It's 52 modules of online training covering all the aspects of property strategies. We've got an expert working alongside you in your business. We've got access to over 400 hours of previous webinars and recordings. You get to sell your deals if you want to sell your deals to me through my database, where we work on a 50-50 split fee basis. You get access to all my useful contacts, my power team, my people who bought the deals and done the deals with me, and you get access to the private EPT WhatsApp group, and you get all the contracts, the templates, and the spreadsheets. So you've got the links which are in the Q&A session or the chat session. Feel free to click on any of those. If you have to copy them, they are case sensitive, so feel free to do that. And if you want to book a call, please copy the link or click on that link, which is tinyurl.com/call Arsh. So before we do that, I just want to, before we go into Q&A, I think we've pretty much come to the end of the session. I'm going to quickly go through some of the session questions that you've got, or some of the most commonly asked questions that I kind of see on this. And I'm going to say that if you don't build your dream, someone is going to hire you to build theirs. So whether it would be Bank Holiday Sunday now, Bank Holiday Monday tomorrow, and on the Tuesday, you're going to go and work for someone. And off the back of you working for someone, you're going to be generating them some income, and you're going to be building their dreams. Let's now work on you building your dream. So there's my phone number. So I'm very transparent. You want to come and see me in the office. This is the last time you're going to see a webinar like this. promoting the Elite Property Tribe. This is the last time for you to go out and actually be able to get this working for you for this year. More importantly, I want the ability to work with you. So if you like the thought of anything that I've said today, feel free to literally just jump on a call with me, book that call with me, send that, put that link into your web browser and say, Arsh, let's have this chat. Let's see where we go from there. And then let's see what we can do. So are there any questions about anything that I've discussed this evening? Please feel free to ask now, because like I said, this is a great opportunity for you to book that. So I can see that Jude's booked a call. Jude, looking forward to working with you. Got quite a few calls being booked through, and I'm looking forward to working with you, if I'm honest. If you guys have got that ability, if you've got that drive and you want to know more about how we've done those deals, I want to work with you. I want to see what we can do and how we can progress further with this. So on that note, questions a little bit quiet, don't mind saying that. But if you've got any questions, feel free. If you want to email me, if you want to book that one-to-one call with me, you're more than welcome to. So Amit says, hi Arsh, I've asked a question. I have 4 properties. Now I want to know regarding stress test, how to go forward. So, okay, so Amit, with regards to properties, you've got 4 properties at the moment. It'd be interesting to see how much of those, what are those properties actually running as? Are they running as single let? Are they running as multi-let? Are they running as service accommodation? Because it could be that those properties are great properties, but perhaps they're not achieving the full potential that they should be. So it could be in the terms of like, could you rent, could you, for what you're generating, how much you're paying out in terms of, okay, so it says they're all single lets. So they're going to be generating nominal cash flow, shall we say, without understanding what your current position is in terms of leverage, etc. So first thing that I would want to look at is location and what is it that you can do to exercise or generate further cash flow. Off the back of that, understanding what the red tape is in the location, understanding what the legislation is in those locations. More importantly, off the back of that, trying to understand if we can generate cash flow, can we then increase the value? And then off the back of that, is it worth a refinance, or, or is it possibly even looking to sell those because they're not great properties? Very hard to say just off the session. It's just saying, I've got 4 properties. I need to know a little bit more about them. Okay, so it says I've got 3 in Wolverhampton. I've got 1 in Bristol. Again, I'll need a lot more information than that, Amit, and probably something that you probably need to book a call on or a consultation call on. But little things like that. If Amit, if you were on the EPT, I would be looking to kind of restructure these and tell you what is the best way to do those, but more importantly, how you can move those forward so that if they're not working great for you, how you can kind of move forward so that you can acquire better style of assets or find a better income generating. Okay, so Martin said, hey Arsh, 2 questions. Interesting how you got planning from care home to HMO. That's quite easy, planning permission. So you just got to apply for planning permission. Care home to HMO is actually, believe it or not, quite easy because you can actually demonstrate the number of use. So let's say, for argument's sake, in a 17-bed care home, you've still got 17 occupants that live there pretty much full time. You then convert that, and then on top of that, you've then got all the uses of, the office managers, the medical staff, the carers, etc. So by running it as a HMO, in actual fact, you're reducing the occupancy. Also, what tax structure you recommend for SA? Very difficult question to answer on a live webinar like this. It very much comes down to you and your personal financial circumstances. So I'd probably recommend that you speak to a very good property tax advisor who can understand what structure you're looking at and where you're based, and because it will come down to where you currently sit in your tax bracket. I could put you in contact with some of my guys as part of the EPT. Obviously, that's a standard process that we'll put you in contact with guys that I've been working with that will steer you in the right direction. It'd be good to work with you, Martin. Obviously, I've known you for a long time. I know where you're based. I know a bit about your story. Working with a business coach or someone could probably propel you further into your property journey. I understand that you're currently doing a few refurbs and stuff at the moment, so it'd be good to see how that works. If you've got that, if you like the thought of that, feel free to reach out. But on that note, guys, I wish you all well. I really hope that you've enjoyed the session. Any questions, feel free to reach out and then let's go from there. But on that note, I hope you have a great bank holiday weekend and I will speak to you all very soon. Take care, guys. Good night and God bless.